Welcome to the Calvin and Trey radio show, hosted by Calvin and
Trey.
Alright, Trey, what are we going to get to this week, man?
I believe we want to start off with NFL, because we have to wait for the college playoffs to be nice to us and finally give us the ratings of everybody.
That's very true, Trey.
Which will happen in 30 minutes, so.
Alright, man. Yeah, so NFL, what did you take away this weekend, man?
I'm scared for the Green Bay Packers.
Really? Do you think they're that bad, or you think like just 3 games in a row they just kind of...
To be honest with you, I think they got jinxed.
Really?
Because McDonald's, you know, like how McDonald's has their like monopoly type of thing.
Yeah, man.
Well, they had a commercial to Peel and Win, and Mike Ditka was he won, and he turned into a Green Bay Packer, and ever since that commercial started, they're 0-3. So
yeah, I mean, I heard about that as well. I'm not really sure I believe in jinxes like that, though.
Yeah, no,
I'll say that for sure.
It's the same concept as like the Drew Brees commercial. Or, well, the backup quarterback.
Luke McCown. Yeah, man.
It's like the same concept. So it's like, just as that came out, a week later or so, he got hurt. And we're like, oh, thanks, Verizon.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll stick with you on that one. But let's see here. Green Bay's last 3 losses are Broncos, Panthers, and Lions. I mean, the Lions were trying to lose the game this last weekend, it seemed. I mean, they weren't...
Yeah.
I'll say it this way. They made enough mistakes where they could have easily lost that game to another team. I don't think, though, that the Lions found the formula to beat the Packers, or that the Packers won't win their next game against, or, the Packers are just for sure going to lose another game this season because of this kind of 3-game streak. I mean, they played 2 teams back-to-back to start this 3-game losing streak, in the Broncos and Panthers. Both were away games. Both games were to undefeated teams at the time, in the Broncos, and the Panthers are still undefeated.
Yeah. I mean... It's really crazy to think about that. Whenever Green Bay was on their 6-0 start, and then Minnesota's coming out of nowhere, and they're leading the division right now, which I would never have thought that, because they don't really have a all-star quarterback like Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
But they do have Adrian Peterson, though.
Right. I would agree with that for sure. I do not think that Teddy Bridgewater is better than Aaron Rodgers. It's not a competition Aaron Rodgers every day in that perspective. But Minnesota so far, I mean, the teams they're winning against, I mean, they still have that first game of the season loss to the 49ers.
Yeah.
But then the teams they've played against, I mean, they haven't played anyone like really good overall as the Vikings are concerned.
Yeah.
Do you agree on that at least?
I mean, the Rams, they're decent this year. Raiders are pretty decent this year, I would say.
Yeah, but like 4 of their wins is like Lions, Chargers, and Bears, and they also have another win against the Chiefs too, who are doing that great. So that's 5 wins.
But the Broncos game was really close, considering it was at the Broncos. But then again, apparently,
for the Vikings, I mean. I think if we're switching teams here, I think that as the Broncos go, as a mindset really, they're a team that's going to sort of like win and lose on the same kind of dynamic of who can make passes that day. You know what I mean?
Very true. I mean, it also helps that Adrian Peterson's doing really, really well. Like, really well.
Yeah, that's true.
I forgot how many games this is, but he's like had a couple of back-to-back 200-yard games. I think it's either 2 or 3. I'm not 100% sure. But I know Adrian Peterson's looking like the Adrian Peterson of old, which is a good thing for the Vikings fans.
You mean of 3 years ago, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Before he got injured and everything that happened to him.
Or that he did.
Yeah,
Let's be honest here.
That too.
Yeah. Let's see here. For Adrian Peterson's stats for the season, on 195 attempts, he has 961 rushing yards. That's pretty crazy, honestly. If you think, if you're thinking about it.
That's almost, like, it's not as crazy as what DeMarco Murray did last year, but it's getting close to it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's getting close to it. I mean, if he continues to do, like, 200 games, then we're going to get close to what he was doing.
I mean, he averages 4.9 yards per carry. for the season, not for a game, for the season.
True. So, yeah. And does he do? Yeah, he didn't. He doesn't receive like he usually does. Because he usually could also like catch the ball from the backfield too a couple of times.
But he's averaging 7.3 yards per reception.
True.
I mean, he's only got 19 receptions on the year. But then again, Teddy Bridgewater, it's not like he has just a ton of weapons out there to pass to, so he's going to find what he can.
True. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to see Minnesota. Like I wasn't expecting like out of the NFC North, I would think it would have gone Green Bay, Chicago, then maybe Minnesota.
Nah, I would have thought Detroit had. What does Detroit need right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if you're Detroit, like, what do you... I don't want to say this, like, to be mean, but, like, if you're the Detroit Lions, how are you 2-7 right now with Matt Stafford and Megatron? You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. It's just... You would think they would do so much better. I mean, the Falcons are doing relatively well, and they have two big wide receivers, and then you also have a good quarterback, and it's kind of the same picture, but the exact opposite, if that makes sense. Like, Detroit is the opposite of what the Falcons are doing right now.
Opposite?
Like, winning-wise.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, Detroit's definitely 2-7. The Falcons, I think, are 7-2, so yeah.
And they're I would say they're, like, straight across the board, they're pretty much equal, give or take, maybe. Offensive-wise?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, who's Detroit's running back right now?
True. That's it.
You know?
Well, I mean, at the beginning of the season, you didn't think of a Lance of Falcons running back right off the back until Freeman went off.
No, but, like, as the season's progressed,
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if we're comparing two teams here, Atlanta's 6-3, and the Lions are 2-7. The Lions, really, their downfall has been their defense. They allow every passing yard it seems to be overall. You know, right now, what the Lions are, last place in the NFL, and I think, in points against, they're 31st in the league. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that, in rushing yards, they're definitely last in the league. Whereas the Falcons, what are they? I mean, they're 15th in the league in rushing yards and 13th in points against. So, right as it stands, I mean, the Lions definitely need to bulk up their defense, man, and their running game. True. The Falcons definitely have that down pat.
And
you're right to start
6-3, by the way.
Right. No, I said that. But you're right to start out the season. I would have thought the Falcons. I mean, they didn't look like they were doing that good last year. But now, as it stands right here today, I don't know what happened to the Lions. It looked like their defense could at least hold somebody back from scoring. But apparently, the Lions are just not able to overcome that hurdle. Especially when you have, like, the one receiver. You know what I mean? It's almost, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, I'm going to draw a lot of comparisons between both teams here. Dallas Cowboys and Detroit Lions, the same record. And if you think about it, like, they're not the same team at all, because the Dallas Cowboys have a really, really good O-line. That's what they're, known for.
Usually good.
Usually good. Well, no, I mean, the Dallas Cowboys O-line's been pretty good over the last 6 losses. But you're not playing with, like, a capable quarterback. And by that, I mean, like, it looked like whenever Brandon Weeden was being quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, the playbook was not open to him. And with Matt Castle, it looks like the playbook's still not open for him. And I'm not saying the playbook should be just wide open, throw whatever we'd throw at Tony Romo, because they're not the same quarterback, Castle and Romo, or Weeden and Romo.
Which I'm sad about Weeden, because he got cut.
That's true. But to go back to the point about the Detroit Lions,
yes.
You have a big receiver in Des Bryant or Calvin Johnson. Yeah. You have a quarterback that can kind of run outside the pocket. Matt Stafford.
Make plays, pretty much.
Plays. Buy a couple extra minutes, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah. And
right as it stands, Lions have become real one-dimensional, and the Cowboys have too.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys, plus in all fairness to Jason Witten, that dude's playing on, like, probably 70%.
If that. If that.
I mean, you hear every week where he's got an ankle sprain or something like that, but he's good to go. He's just not playing at 100% health
he's
right now.
He's a trooper, that's for sure.
Yes, that is true, man. That is true.
But yeah, it's interesting. That's a fact.
Oh yeah.
It's just one of those things that you're not expecting some of these things. You're like, oh, they're gonna do at least better than 2-7,
right?
Or whatever. It's just, I mean, it's confusing. It's like, NFC East, you're kind of like lately you've kind of experienced that like NFC East with the Cowboys, Giants, Eagles. That's just going to be a mess every single year, and that's what it's kind of been every single year. And you kind of there's usually trends every single like I would say not like every 5 years. There's usually trends of like just certain teams that are going to do really well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really weird just to see some of these just trends breaking themselves.
That's true.
I mean, the Lions weren't. Did they make it playoffs last year?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure they didn't.
I'm not 100% sure either. But like they were competing for the last spot. I know that.
Yeah, that's true.
But this year they're just not even close.
But this year, you know what's weird?
What?
Is that this is how the NFL goes. Is that no team's really out of it until we hit Christmas. I mean, there's definitely some teams that are definitely out of it. But let's say the Lions just go ahead and win 7 straight games and go 9-7. It's not going to happen, and it's a very, very far-fetched idea. But let's say that happens, then the Lions are in the playoffs at 9-7. You know what I mean? Like, it's the NFC. You see what I mean there? Like,
yeah.
They're not going to go on a 7-game winning streak and get in the playoffs. It's not going to happen. But a team like in the NFC East, they could do it.
Yeah. Anybody in the NFC East can still win it. Sad. Kind of sad.
I do want to talk about the Monday night game.
Yeah.
So,
the Bengals.
Do you think the Bengals were caught in a trap game and just kind of overlooked the Texans and were ready for, the Cardinals, who they played this Sunday night?
Don't think so. To be honest with you, I don't think that was a trap game because I don't think yes, the Cardinals are doing good or well. I think it would have been more of a trap game if they were playing like the Patriots next week.
Okay.
Or something like that. Arizona.
Cardinals are good, man.
Yeah, I know the Cardinals are good, but like.
And before that Monday night game even started, they announced that it would be Sunday night next week.
Yeah, I still don't think it was a trap game. Like if they were playing someone bigger, I think it would have been more of a trap game. I don't think they just showed up. It's weird. They just did not like wake up on Mondays and show up.
See, to me, that means it's a trap game, though. That is like the definition of it to me, man.
Okay.
As it stands,
true.
right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're here in Oklahoma City, so it's hard to judge everything accurately, or in Stillwater. But right now, as it stands, the Bengals didn't play good.
No.
At all.
No.
They played like they have, where some people drawing comparisons to how they play in the playoffs. I'm not saying that exactly. I think that's pretty harsh to say that a team, when they have a bad game, it's like, oh, that's how they do in the playoffs. But in the same sense...
And the Texans were down a quarterback. Their starting quarterback, quote unquote.
Well, yeah, but who knows? TJ Yates might have started the game anyways.
True, they're always back and forth. That's why I said quote unquote.
What I'm surprised, though, is the game was that low scoring, man.
J.J. Watt was kind of feeling it that night, I believe. Because he was rushing really, he had not saying that he doesn't have a purpose every single game, but this game, it looked like he had a purpose.
He's on a war trail, is what you're saying?
Yes, pretty much, because he was on a roll. He was getting to Andy Dalton no matter what, every single time it looked like.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
And
it was crazy.
He does this on a normal basis, but usually, they would, at least double.
They never double teamed him.
Yeah,
on the last drive of the game, I'm looking at the Bengals and I'm going, why are you not double teaming J.J. Watt? Right now he's just, sacking Andy Dalton every so often. And then, of course, A.J. Green, who's a dependable wide receiver, fumbles the ball with 44 seconds left on the Bengals' hopeful game-winning drive. But A.J. Green fumbles the ball and it's it's game.
Yeah.
Ball game right there. That was really sad.
Yeah. I guess that kind of shows, the priority that the Texans have had is always have a good defense, which I would say they have I wouldn't say, perfect defense or a decent defense.
Right.
Right. It would be better. It could be better, of course, if they had an offense. But it's relatively good, because they usually always spend, a first-round draft pick for their defense. So, if they just had the quarterback or some offensive threat, they would be a little bit better of a team.
That's very true. I believe the exact same way. If there was an ability to keep the Texans defense off the field for a couple minutes here and there.
Couple more minutes than
than what their offense currently gives them, then they stand a better chance for sure, man. But I mean, the Bengals defense played all right. They held held another NFL team to 10 points, and the offense just could not find AJ Green. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, true. And
Or
there was a lot of drop balls, though.
Yeah,
a lot of those
or effort, or their tight end. I may be saying this wrong, but I think it's Tyler Effort.
Yeah. I don't know how to say it. So
Effort or something.
Effort,
yeah, I'm not exactly
But
sure.
there was a lot of drop balls happening, and it's just like, why? You would think you would be able to catch that, like a normal catch. I know, I couldn't do it, but it just seemed like it could happen.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I know that for sure. The Bengals, man, they seem to snub a good chance of just being undefeated for the rest of this, I guess, not the rest of the season, but, because no NFL team at this point is going to go undefeated for a whole season. I don't think even what looks to be the Patriots will. The Patriots almost lost to the Giants, who were 5-4, and the Giants to start out the season weren't known as being good at all.
Yeah.
They don't even have Victor Cruz right now, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, I love the NFL. It's always different.
That's very true.
But you know what's even more different?
What?
College football.
Jeez, man.
Yeah. Who would have thought Oregon would have won that game? Or, well, Stanford had a chance, but they went for 2. Or, were they down? I don't remember exactly. Were they down by 2, or were they just down by 1? Stanford.
I forget now that you asked about it.
I'll look it up real fast.
All right, thank you. Well, what I was surprised at right now, though, right now, what I was surprised at over the weekend was that as it stands,
they were down by 2 points.
They were down by 2.
Yeah.
Is that for the playoff rankings?
Yeah.
I mean, the top 4, no one lost, or the top 4, or the top 5. I'm sorry, including Iowa, right? But
the AP poll and the coaches poll say
AP and coaches poll definitely changed.
Which is a lot. And then, of course, they gave OU a big boost because they beat Baylor. So
yeah, which is rightly deserved. I mean,
I don't know if it's deserved to go all the way to 7.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Who has a better road win this season than OU right now? Road win.
Give me a second. I'm thinking. There's probably not one, but let me look at the top 25 and I'll think of something probably.
No, I don't. I mean, honestly, I just don't think that I don't think that there is one right now, man. You want to know why?
Why?
Because, right now, as it stands...
I got it. I got
one.
No, that was at home, wasn't it? Dang it.
Yeah, dude. They're all at home.
Was it? Let me see.
Yeah, man.
Yep. The only big home or away game win was Ole Miss.
But that's when they beat Alabama, and they're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the only one I can think of this year.
Yeah. So here's my SEC take for the day here. If the SEC is so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then let's back it up to last year's bowl games, okay? Last year's bowl games, TCU, who was left out of the college football playoff, played Ole Miss in a bowl game. You remember this?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait.
Do you remember
how many years ago?
Last year.
Okay.
Last year, into last season. Not too long ago. 11 games. That was 12 games ago. This Ole Miss team played. Do you remember the score of that game, Trey?
No, I do not.
It was 42-3 TCU. So here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama loses 2 years in a row to an Ole Miss team.
Yep.
That supposedly, SEC is good, great. Ole Miss is good, a good team. They're substantial. They have good wins.
Mm-hmm.
Then how does an Ole Miss team like that lose to an a TCU team that's 42-3?
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss scored 3 points in that game.
Yeah.
They let TCU, the SEC defenses and SEC, caliber players.
The team that beat Alabama.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
lost to TCU, who was not in the college football playoffs, 42. They lost by 39 points on a neutral playing field.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the SEC so good?
I don't know. That is a good question because it's got the money. That's the real reason, I think.
Yeah,
at this point.
Yeah. There was a good point that I heard earlier this week. Is that if you're a fan of sports in general, right, and you are in you're in Oklahoma, great state of Oklahoma, right? If OSU doesn't do too good in football, I go ahead and I'm like, all right, let's turn on the Thunder game. If OU doesn't do too good in football, a lot of people are like, because I'm not an OU fan, so I can't speak for them, but a lot of people are still like, let's turn on the Thunder game. Let's go to a Thunder game, Thunder, and that kind of ends out this, ends out the football season. Or OSU basketball or OU basketball, et cetera, et cetera. Because OSU and OU basketball are generally respectable year to year. OU's pretty darn good this year overall at basketball. Yeah. We got to watch out.
I think they're like 8 or 7.
Yeah, I think they 8 today, and then they just beat Memphis today as well. So, as a fan of sports in general, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who are just south, in Dallas.
Yeah.
Or Arlington, I should say. But if you're like an Alabama fan, who are you rooting for? If you're Auburn, Alabama, Louisiana State, LSU, they've got the Saints, right? And they've got the Hornets. Or, I'm sorry, now they're the Pelicans. My bad.
Yeah, you gotta get that right.
Gotta get that right. So, who are you? I guess if you're an Alabama, Auburn, how much further I want to go with this? I think that's it. If you're an Alabama or Auburn fan, who do you root for when the season's over? Well, that's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
When football ends, I mean, neither team's doing that great in basketball. They don't have national title hopes or anything like that. Do they all kind of just change their jerseys to Kentucky jerseys for a little bit for basketball season? Or
yeah.
The SEC you're right, has all the money going to it, and if you really follow money-wise, that's kind of where everything goes. But here's my thing for the SEC is that everyone talks about who has the Big 12 teams played, right?
Yeah.
It's till the end of the season, then the Big 12, it's just heavy loaded in November. TCU plays, OSU plays TCU, Baylor, OU, with one extra game thrown in there for each team to end up the month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Alabama playing, man?
Yeah, nobody except for LSU, and then I think that's Wisconsin. That was their first game of the year, and then Ole Miss.
Right, and at the time, beating Wisconsin was good.
Yeah,
at the time.
But it was still probably like, what were they, 20th probably? And Alabama was close to number 1 probably?
Right, but to end out the season, Alabama's going to play a FCS team, not even a team in the FBS, so it's, different whole scenario here.
Pretty much a bye week.
Right. And then they're going to play a 5-5 Auburn team who only has 2 wins within conference to end up the season.
Yeah.
And I know that's like I know that how that goes in every year. Alabama's gonna play Auburn for the last game, just like we as Oklahoma State play OU to end up every season. But why is he who? I'm looking at the wins that Alabama has right now, right? So they've got what was known as probably at the time a pretty tough win over Georgia, who at the time was number 8, and now is it's 5-3 in their conference, in the SEC.
They're still doing,
but they beat Georgia at Georgia. That's what Alabama did this year so far. Mm-hmm. They lost to Ole Miss at home.
Yeah, that's the big one. That was the big game.
That's a big loss.
And then just Ole Miss lost everything after that, or not really. They weren't the same team.
Yeah, but Ole Miss is 7-3 right now.
True.
They're 4-2 in conference in the SEC, so they're not bad. My point is that if you're ranking the SEC and you don't look at the actual rankings on the left side, and you just look at the wins by how much, the wins are great. They are beating every team soundly after that Ole Miss loss. What is more interesting is that Alabama will barely scoop by a team like Tennessee that OU beat.
Yeah. I think, how bad did OU beat Tennessee? I don't know. I don't know. Well, they beat them by 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, OU wasn't. I mean, OU lost to Texas, so there's that argument all over again. So,
But besides measuring up the SEC against itself, why are they that good at football?
just because they can, apparently.
I mean, I'm so sick of hearing that, though.
Yeah, and then that's once again, like it's just all perspective because they think the ACC and the SEC are like the top dogs right now, and then like the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are just kind of the lesser ones.
Well, okay, that's another good point you bring up here. Why is the ACC one of the best teams in college football? Why is the ACC such a good conference this year in college football?
Yeah.
When last year it was the worst conference. How does that make sense?
Worst, yeah.
Well, I mean, as a Power 5 conferences go,
yes,
everyone was saying among the ACC, Pac-12, Big 12, SEC, the ACC was last in conferences last year. And what's changed this year?
I don't know. Florida State just barely made it in the playoffs last year just because they were undefeated.
Right.
That's the only reason why they ever made it.
Right. And you know what? And if OSU wins out, that may be the exact same example people used is what we got to put them in there. We put Florida State in there last year.
Yeah.
Which I respect. That's a valid point if you're going undefeated. But
the
Florida
games are
State
getting harder for Big 12, though, I would say.
Right. That's true. I mean, OSU's strength of schedule is number 1 overall. That's something for sure. But right now, as it stands, why is ACC so much better this year than it was last year? Just nothing. That argument just doesn't hold any validity in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
North Carolina is 23 in the country and they've lost 1 game. They're in the ACC. One of the big wins that Clemson holds over their head was beating Notre Dame, and I know Notre Dame only has one loss, which is to Clemson. But one of Notre Dame's biggest wins was to Temple.
Yeah,
Temple's clearly not good.
Well, they also have a couple. I think Notre Dame does have another bigger win than that, I believe.
Really?
I think so.
All right.
We're looking this up. Gotta look this up. I think they do have a bigger win.
No, they don't.
Number 14, Georgia Tech. Which
I
know Georgia Tech has not been that good this year. They did beat Florida State though, on a last-second play.
Exactly.
So,
why is ACC that good?
Well, Notre Dame would have played a better UFC if they didn't have their debacle in the beginning of the season. So, yes, I still see what you're saying though.
Notre Dame's best win of the season could be against a 2-loss Stanford team at the end of the season.
Maybe.
Theoretically.
Yes. Because
right now Notre Dame, their claim to fame is they only lost by 2 at home to Clemson. Right?
And their other big win is Georgia Tech, which Georgia Tech isn't as hot as they used to be.
No, Georgia Tech isn't.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech, man. No, Georgia Tech isn't that good. They're just not, as it stands as a team. Georgia Tech's got. Oh, I'm so sorry. Here, hang on a second. Georgia Tech is 1-6 in the
conference,
ACC.
Yeah.
Yep.
And their only win is
3-7 overall, man.
Well, only win is against Florida State.
Right. So Georgia Tech's clearly not that good.
Yeah.
When they played Florida State, they were ranked 14th. By AP or Coach's Blood, I don't know what's using that, but they're not that. No, Georgia Tech does not deserve any credit right now. They're not even going to get a bowl game, man.
Yeah.
So they're not. That's not a good win.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? You take that back? Because Georgia Tech's not a good team. They're 1-6.
Yes. But at the time, we didn't know that they were only going to be 1-6.
No, but now that the playoff committee can look at everything and go from a broader angle of here's this, and this, and this, and this. Why are we saying that they're a good team?
Well,
Georgia Tech's not a good team. Notre Dame, their claim to fame is beating Georgia Tech, so that's not great. Notre Dame's best win of the season right now is Temple.
Yeah,
not good. Even though Temple's 8-2, but clearly just, Temple isn't who we thought was not going to go undefeated.
Well, if we're also
have 2 losses.
If we're also looking at the overall, what you're trying to say, then the OU Texas game should mean a lot more than it does right now.
I'm all for that.
Because Texas lost to Cal, they lost to Notre Dame. really bad.
Yeah.
And just like their only big non-conference win was Rice. And then they're doing not very well in the conference play either. So it's just like they're not making a big deal about OU lost. Like they don't make a big deal about losing apparently. Like Alabama or OU because they're like in the top 10. And they shouldn't, like, realistically, they should be maybe 9 or 10, but not like 7 or 4 or something like that. I
just hear me out on this.
Mhm.
Seth Russell as a player, I'm sure will prosper and do great things, man. But he's not that great of a quarterback overall. It's his second start.
Yeah.
I mean, he beat a K-State team who we're not sure how good they are.
Yeah.
And then second start, I know it was at home, but OU came in and beat a kid and we don't know how good he is, right? This is... Look on the right kid.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't.
What'd you do?
Take the whole thing. What? No, go ahead, Trey.
Oh, well. I mean, okay, the Baylor game was... maybe the weather may have affected him, but I mean, still, it shouldn't have. It just... I don't know if the game would have been the same if their starting quarterback that had the neck injury. I don't know if it would have been the same. Like I think it would be a little bit closer. It's still a close game, no matter what. But man, it's gonna be close. It was close without the starting quarterback. So I don't know. It's just man. Baylor's like another question mark team now.
What do you mean a question mark team?
They're like a TCU, because they didn't play anybody until OU pretty much, and they didn't do as well as everybody thought they were going to do, and they struggled at home.
And I will take that back. I clicked on the wrong thing. It's Jared Stidham for Baylor, who's the quarterback who started his second game. So I will. I definitely have to retract that. It's definitely his second game starting overall, and
he's a freshman, or is he a redshirt freshman?
We'll do some more research on this, honestly, at this point.
Yeah.
Because he's just, he's definitely a good quarterback and has good potential, and he did go beat a, he beat a, I'm so sorry, Kansas State team, so he's got potential for sure,
Mm-hmm.
But
then again, this is a Kansas State team that's like down 3 or 4 quarterbacks.
Right, they're on
quarterbacks. So it's just like, I mean, OU shut them out, right? I believe.
What?
Was it OU that shut out K-State?
55-0. Yeah. So that was sad. Yeah, but Jared Stidham, I mean, for the season, he's thrown 11 TDs, 2 interceptions, which is great. I mean, it really is great. And for the OU game, he threw both those interceptions in that game. So that's just not going to turn out real well for him. And he had 2 TDs, but still. Mm-hmm. Less than the fact, OU, did you really beat that great of an offense that is just gelling together? Because I think OU's defense is respectable for sure, especially in the Big 12. I mean, as defenses are set up to play in the Big 12. I want to say that as well.
I mean, Baylor was not at their full strength, I believe.
No, definitely not. They definitely did not, go into a season practicing to have...
Yeah.
Definitely not, man.
I mean, if... That's, like, once again, if-then type of questions. That probably will never happen, but... really, now it's just, like... We're almost to the point where it's, like, OU Bedlam is going to decide the Big 12 again.
Yeah, I think it will.
Unless OU somehow loses to TCU this weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
Is OU at home for TCU?
I don't know for sure, Trey. We'll figure that out real quick,
Look it up real fast.
Yeah, man, you got it.
Because I have a feeling they are at home, which will help them.
Yeah.
But I just know that
they're at home against TCU.
But all roads pretty much lead to Stillwater, so...
Yep, hey, we got to be Baylor, though.
Yeah.
Really, we got to be Baylor. I mean, that's...
I mean, if we beat Baylor more than OU, do you think that would, like, give us more credit? Or will the committee just be like, you struggled against so many other teams, but, hey, you beat TCU and Baylor really bad?
I think that there's a difference between coming back and winning games versus just surviving. For instance, I think that there's a difference. I think there's a big difference between a team that can come back and win on the road, like a West Virginia win, like an Iowa State win, etc., versus a team that just gets a lot of points in the first quarter and just holds on to it. You know what I mean? I think there's a big difference in that, and I hope the playoff committee sees that as I think that helps OSU out. I think that OSU should get a lot of respect after this win against Iowa State, actually. Because even though it was 35-31, it was pretty darn ugly.
Yeah.
OSU came back and won the game and still has a 0 in the loss column, man. So that means what are we doing here, playoff committee, when that doesn't even mean anything?
It's going to be interesting whenever they do come out with it, which will be relatively soon, we hope. But I hope that we just don't move up one spot to 6 and then OU 7, because that's probably what's going to happen. To be realistic.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Probably will happen. But based off the AP polls, I wish we would go off of those things. They put OSU in 4. So, I mean, I don't know. It just depends.
Yeah. Really, right now, I don't get why the ACC is ranked as good as they are as a conference. I see one team, Clemson, doing extremely well. Yeah. I see a Florida State team doing pretty darn good.
Florida State?
They're in the ACC.
But they lost to...
Pretty darn good. I'm not saying great.
Right, yeah.
Not saying great.
Okay, making sure.
I'm not saying that they're doing that good at all. Just saying they're doing all right for right now.
Yeah.
So if they're... I don't know how to compare them, but I'd say that they're doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, North Carolina, maybe. It's iffy, even them. And they've only got one loss. And then after them, no one. No one in the ACC rings a bell as being that good at all in my mind. Just no one does.
Yeah, true.
SEC, top 2 teams, Alabama and...
LSU?
Or Florida. Not really sure. Yeah, exactly, at this point.
Because they lost to Arkansas.
Right. Should be Arkansas.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead and say it.
Yeah. I'll let you do it. Well, I mean, that isn't, like you said earlier, like, what's a team that beat someone at being the visiting team? Arkansas did. But they're not ranked 25 like OU is.
I'm sorry, who's ranked 25?
Like, in the top 25.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry for the confusion.
Thank you.
But, that's what you were talking about earlier, about how the top 25, none of them really have a good away game win.
Right, that's true. But who does? Who has a great...
Literally nobody. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Maybe the Pac-12, maybe have someone, but they're not top 25 teams.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Pac-12 this year, I think they're the team that just they play each other too many times, and they're too good at that you never know, really.
Yeah, which I'm still shocked that Oregon came back, or not came back, but they came back from their season and still beat Stanford.
Yeah.
So interesting.
I mean, that's the Arkansas team. Just to go back to that. I mean. They lost to Texas Tech.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Texas Tech is a...
Texas Tech's good.
Yes, they're good.
That's why. That's another reason. Why...
Yeah.
Why is the SEC that good, man? Why is the ACC that good? Why is the SEC that good? Why does the Big 12 not get that much credit when they go out of conference and play out of conference games?
Because
Tech playing Arkansas.
Yeah.
And,
it's because they look at those stats and see, there's 600 yards per game. That type of stuff, They don't see the true stat that is used in the Big 12 is yards or per play or something.
Yeah, but even that, Texas Tech didn't play on a neutral field and did not play that game at home.
Mm-hmm.
They played it at Arkansas in Arkansas Stadium,
mm-hmm.
and they won 35-24. And they're in the SEC is still better than the Big 12. I don't even understand.
I know. It's just...
Because you know what? Arkansas has the exact same conference record as Ole Miss and LSU at 4-2. And overall, they're 6-4 and they're going to a bowl game, and that's not that bad. So one of those losses is to Alabama. One's to a Toledo team, so that's not a good loss. Another one's to A&M, but then one's to Tech.
Yeah.
Like, give the Big 12 some credit at some point, right?
So what would make you happy with this committee whenever they post the rankings? What would make you happy? Like, what's your top 4? Let's just go with top 4. Which, in your world, if you were a committee member, what would you put?
I would put number 1. Number 1, I'd put Ohio State.
Okay.
I don't think they've looked like I think they look fine. Number 2, Clemson. They're undefeated.
Yeah.
Number 3, Oklahoma State University, because they're undefeated.
I don't think I would put them up that high yet.
I don't. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
At this point, OSU. Are we undefeated?
Yes.
Are we one of the last undefeated teams in college football?
One of them, yes.
1 to 3.
Yep. Oh wait,
Or 4. I'm sorry, Houston won.
Yep. Houston came back in 2 win.
Right. So that's the top 3.
Yeah.
And 4. I'll put Alabama. I mean, I think SEC deserves to be somewhere on there.
I would probably put Notre Dame ahead of Alabama.
Why?
Because, well, Alabama...
Notre Dame does not deserve any respect, man.
Okay, Notre Dame lost an away game. Alabama lost a home game. So, there's a bit... And then the Ole Miss team is not that good. And the team that Notre Dame lost to is still undefeated. That's my only...
Fair point. Good point on that. My thing, I guess, for me is that I just don't view as like Notre Dame's played.
Anybody?
I just view as at least Alabama's played SEC teams. Notre Dame really needs to join a conference before I start respecting them outright.
Well, that's what they're always going to do, though, just because they get more money that way, probably.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're Notre Dame, be independent. Don't join a conference. Yeah, because you can go ahead and play teams like Texas, Virginia, Georgia Tech, who's 1-6, UMass. Then you play like a Clemson team. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Navy, USC,
Temple. Navy is ranked, though.
Okay, all right. So what? On this right now, the teams that Notre Dame's currently beat that are currently ranked,
or
Clemson. No, I'm just going to currently because this is later in the season, so we know more now.
Okay.
Clemson, Navy, Temple.
If Temple's still in it.
I think Temple might not be after tonight.
Yeah.
But then a Stanford team who's got 2 losses in the Pac-12.
Yeah, which they're probably going to be mid-14 range now.
Yeah, I'm not viewing that as a bunch of good wins for Notre Dame. When you can play a team like UMass one week and and then Pitt and then SC and then Virginia and you jump around and you play like people in different conferences all the time, and then it just turns out that you don't play the best team ever in that conference.
True.
Besides Clemson, and then you lose. Like, if Notre Dame had beat Clemson, Notre Dame would be number 1 in the nation, right?
Yeah, probably. No doubt. And they would stay number 1 because they don't play anybody else until Stanford.
And Notre Dame, I'd give them more credit if they took the game to overtime or something like that. But, nah, I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't give them that much credit overall as a football team.
Would you see?
Sadly, don't.
Could you see Iowa going up though? Because they're undefeated.
I would be. Okay. I would put Iowa at 4 for this week, but I want to put this with an exception
because
because they're going to play Ohio State. If both teams go undefeated, they will play each other at the end of the season. So, I mean that's really it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, as it stands, I'll put Ohio State and Iowa can be right next to each other at 2 and 3, and we can play Clemson at 1, or Oklahoma State at 1, Oklahoma State at 4. We can do however we want to mix around those teams in the top 4. But eventually, Ohio State's going to play Iowa if both teams remain undefeated, of course, and Iowa doesn't lose, or Ohio State. But I mean, as a complete package for the rankings and stuff. I mean, we can put down Iowa at 4 just for the sake of it right now, but then whenever that game happens, then we'll know.
So you still say, like, Alabama and Notre Dame are looking outside in? And realistically? Or in your...
Well, okay, but here's my thing, though, is that I know at the end of the season that for sure that Iowa and Ohio State will not be in the top 4.
True. Well,
so if I know...
them won't be.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying and, not or.
Yeah.
So, right now as it stands, I would not put both of them in the top 4. I would put both in the top 4 for merely showmanship at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm running a real rankings and I want people to actually take me seriously, I'd put Iowa probably at 5, right where they are.
Okay.
And
so then who's your 4th team? Alabama?
I guess so. Alabama gets so much ESPN and CBS and ABC and all that,
Everything.
What Alabama was on College Game Day this year 3 times, 2 times at home. I mean, that's not right.
We should have had it.
At least one of those. We should have it for the TCU game.
Do you think we could possibly get it for the OU game?
I think there's a chance.
I mean,
but it depends on how we play Baylor.
Well,
if we go out and we just smash Baylor and OU smash TCU, you better believe College Game Day is going to want to come here.
Do we know if Boykin's going to be back for Oklahoma?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think they've announced yet.
Okay, so that's going to be. I don't think TCU still they were. Nah, I don't think TCU's going to, because they were tied with the Kansas Jayhawks. Tied with them. What?
I know. They had a backup quarterback in, but still.
Yeah.
Still though, man.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
Okay, here's a question for you.
Yep.
Let's say you're an OU fan. If OU wins out,
Yep.
do they deserve to be in the playoffs?
Are we assuming that OSU beats Baylor?
Yeah.
Okay, so we would have both a 10-1 team, or no?
11-1 team
11-1.
would play an 11-1 team. An 11-1 team.
Mm-hmm.
OU would play 11.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, a 10-1 team would play a 11-0 team.
And then
as an away game,
so
and a
it'd be
rivalry
11-1. So yeah, I could see. You know what's sad? Because of that, they'd probably knock each other out of the playoff.
If
OU
won,
they'll probably knock.
But is that what you're going to stand with, though, for sure?
Yeah, because Notre Dame would go up into the playoffs with Alabama.
I can see that.
They only moved Stanford. The rating system has just come out, and they've only moved Stanford back 4 positions, which is kind of crazy for me. But poor TCU went all the way down to 18 already, which is kind of crazy considering they won.
Yeah, but let's see here.
This is the next, top 10's about to pop up next for us, so.
I'll probably go to commercial.
Yeah, usually, knowing our luck.
Knowing ESPN.
Yep.
As it stands right now, though, I would put OU in the playoffs if they beat Oklahoma State. At Oklahoma State, they win.
Then who would you have out?
Huh?
Who would you take out, then?
Notre Dame or...
Baylor's 10, Michigan State is 9, Florida is 8, OU is 7.
Yeah.
Which I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised all that OU 7.
Yeah. I'm surprised, though, that Michigan State's ahead of Baylor. They went from 13 to 9.
Yeah.
And they didn't really play anybody this week. Did they play anybody? I think they may have played a smaller school. Let's see.
I think they played Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. They played in Maryland.
Yeah. So. Oh, man. I'm all right so far. I think I'm all right so far with the rankings. Are you?
Those they just came out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Looks like we're going to commercial. Oh, no, they're going to talk about more.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, though, I would definitely move. I would have, if OU wins out, I would have a number 1 overall as... I would have, 1, 2, and 3 would be basically decided.
Mm-hmm.
As the unbeaten... That's the remaining unbeaten teams. So, Ohio State or Iowa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clemson.
Yep.
And...
There would be no other...
Oh, that's right. So then I would have OU maybe at 3 and Alabama maybe at 4. Or maybe you're right, Notre Dame at 4.
That's probably what's going to happen, though. Especially if win. If they win against Stanford.
Who wants to see Clemson play Notre Dame again?
That's
my thing, though. Is that if in the regular season that's the thing that made me so mad in 2011 about the LSU Alabama game.
Mm-hmm.
Above all else, I know OSU had a shot at playing the national championship game, and OSU probably would have gotten demolished. I don't know for sure. We don't know.
True.
But as a fan of sports, period, I hate seeing games as national championship games when we've already seen them play in the regular season.
True.
I didn't need to watch LSU play Alabama again. I knew that Bama could make corrections to win the game, or LSU could win the game. It didn't matter. LSU won in the regular season, man.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
so, like, why?
Yeah. It's going to be... I could see that happening, though. A rematch.
Really?
Because it's playoffs. Every Notre Dame wants another rematch, of course, but...
Well, of course they do. Money.
Yeah.
Clemson wants a rematch. Money.
Well, I mean, earlier this season we were talking about how there could possibly be a rematch, too, between, like... I think we were talking about Alabama and LSU again, and then... I forgot who the other... It was probably Clemson and Notre Dame. So, I mean...
Something like that, yeah, for
we
sure.
had that, like, at the beginning of the... I remember talking about that at the beginning of the season, so... There's always going to be a chance of a rematch, though. That's because it's because they rank them so high, or don't move them back as far as they should go.
That's true. I guess for me at least,
Mm-hmm.
seeing a Clemson team play a Notre Dame team in the College Football Playoffs, that's not exciting to me. That's not.
We've seen it.
We've seen it.
Yeah.
So even if Notre Dame figures that out, makes
here we
adjustments, makes adjustments,
Number one
and
is
beats,
Clemson.
Okay.
So I'm
You
happy.
gonna announce this? All right.
Yeah,
Go for it, Trey.
they're already pretty good so far.
There's gonna be some dead air here, though, because they're gonna.
Yeah.
They're talking. They're coast. I'm saying though is that if a Clemson team plays Notre Dame again, please don't let that happen. College football playoffs.
Number 2 is Alabama, which
Yeah.
I'm surprised they moved up.
Okay.
To be honest, well, they did play a ranked team, but still, I'm surprised about that.
Okay.
And they did dominate them pretty well. That was an away game for them too, wasn't it? So that's probably the reason why. Alabama was at
Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Who's not a bad team overall. As
Ranking
records
yeah.
are concerned. Let me say that. As records are concerned, man. I mean, jeez, man, I don't get the
this
SEC.
community.
I don't get the SEC at all, man. I mean, like that one loss is staring me right in the face of Mississippi at home for college football game day.
Yeah.
Like, you should be hyped up for that game more than you are hyped up for the game before that, for sure.
Yeah.
And the game next. Like, that was, am I right? That was Alabama's first conference game of the season, was Ole Miss, and they lost.
Yep. And number 3 was Ohio State, which there is no surprise about that because they're undefeated.
Right.
So now the next potential for them is saying Iowa, Oklahoma State, and Notre Dame. Strength of schedule, supposedly, Notre Dame has 27th, OSU has 55, and Iowa has 61. It went by too fast. I think it's 61 or 67. I could not tell.
Dun, dun, dun,
So the moment of truth right here, hopefully.
Dun, dun.
Ooh.
Really? Wow.
Ooh,
Notre Dame's
Notre
at 4. Notre Dame's at 4. That is just appalling.
I don't know why they think their strength of schedule is so good.
I hear what the College Football Playoff Committee guys have to say to people, and none of it makes sense.
Yeah,
they don't base it on the same thing every week.
Hey, guess what? We're 6. How did I not know that?
Iowa's going to stay at 5.
I know.
Yeah,
I knew we were only going to move up 1 spot. Or did we move up 2?
2 spots.
Okay.
Yeah, we were 8.
I thought we were just going to move up.
All right, let's get those
2.
pitchforks out, man. Notre Dame has 1 loss.
1 loss. Alabama has 1 loss.
Jeez, man, I don't.
So what I've learned is lose early, play big games, and you can lose against the number 1 team as long as they stay undefeated.
Here's my thoughts from learning college football playoff rankings as we have them right here today. Updated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Overall, right now, college football playoff rankings, right? You've got 2 Big 12 teams who are 6 and then 7, and then you've got another one at 10, right? So you got 3 in the top 10. Big 12 clearly needs to go back to having 12 teams and clearly have a championship game, so that they're playing on the last day of the season,
like everybody else.
That like other teams are. Because you know what would separate us is that if OSU is playing. I don't even care if we're playing, say we're playing Iowa State again, or K-State, or I'm not
someone
K,
from the north.
KU. But let's say we're playing anyone from the north, right? let's say that happens where OSU is playing on the last day of the season. Guess who's not playing? Notre Dame.
Yep.
Guess who's not playing anyone? Clemson. The only teams who are actually going to be playing on the last game of the season is Iowa and Ohio State. That really matters for anything. The rest of the teams just have to win, and they'll stay status quo.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame, hopefully Notre Dame just doesn't have it at the last. Gosh dang. It's so maddening.
Well, I think after that lovely experience, I think we got to wrap it up.
College football playoff rankings. Yeah. Well, thank you, College Football Playoff Committee. You've inspired
many generations.
Inspired many generations of confusion and questioning until next week. So until next week at 8 p.m.
Probably
for sure. Even though it's Thanksgiving week, we're still gonna have the show, guys.
Woo!
So next week at 8, the Calvin Trey Radio Show will return.
I'm Trey.
And I'm Calvin. And for now, we'll see you guys next week.